as the world is organized in this according to a universal social order. This order demands us as Lebanese to unite, respect each other's feelings, thoughts, and character. He's free to be Christian or Muslim. And to raise awareness of all the challenges around us, in order to be able to find resolutions to our problems. To sum up, heterogeneity enhances diversity. Thank you.
Thank you, Huda. Your time was 4 minutes.
Any questions?
Thank you, Huda, for your speech.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. You raised a lot of issues and you made a lot of statements that we should all be homogeneous and we should accept other people. But I'd like to ask you, where would you start raising awareness? And you sort of concluded by saying we should raise awareness, and everybody talks about awareness campaigns. But where would you start?
If we want to start in raising awareness, each individual should start in his home. Because most of these individuals or these children are raised in this way. But when we are watching this difference, or when we are watching our parents are raising us on the way to hate others just because he's different, no, we should raise awareness in our home, then to our schoolmates, then to accept being different. Thank you. Any other question? Thank you.
Thank you, Huda.
Let's welcome on stage Joel Batal.
Although many teenagers refuse to admit it, I proudly claim that I am a child. I am a child in every aspect. I still play with my stuffed animals, and I still fight with my mom about drinking my cup of milk. I am fortunate to be living my childhood to the fullest. However, some children out there never had the opportunity or the atmosphere to live their childhood in any sort of way. Ladies and gentlemen, as a peer of those children, I care about childhood, and I am infinitely convinced that now is the most appropriate time to shed light on this heartbreaking topic. The Convention of the Child's Rights explicitly points that state parties must ensure the mental, social, spiritual, physical, and moral development of children. However, in light of recent currents of political instability, children are extensively neglected, and childhood is becoming the greatest casualty of war. The soil of the Middle Eastern region, our Middle Eastern region, has been washed time over time with the blood, sweat, and tears of children. Syria is the most obvious witness of violation of children's rights. UNICEF found that 3 million children have been displaced from their homes, 2 million of which deprived of an education. How do you expect a community to prosper when its building blocks, the children, are being exposed to scenes of violence that make grown men cry? You see, they have nothing. They were orphaned and left alone. They have seen their parents die before them, and all they could do was watch. They have seen their homes burned to the ground and their innocence was taken. Can you believe that a Syrian boy told the reporter, while breathing his last pint of air, "I will tell God everything"? The notion that children's rights are only violated during a war is extremely false. Our beautiful Lebanon is host to more than 1,500 street children. Don't you think they're deprived of their rights as well? Young boys are broken and beaten if they don't meet their daily quota of money. They are forced to take drugs that could and will kill their fragile bodies. A child told the reporter in an interview, "Don't go that way. This is where they get drunk and take people's clothes off." This child, denied a proper education, was educated by the unforgiving circumstances. The young girls, if you're wondering, are exposed to a more sadistic type of violence. Sexual abuse justified by masculinity. In the meantime, inducing children into prostitution is a crime punishable by the law. But did you know that our Lebanese law that is supposed to protect us consider child trafficking an illegal act? The responsibility is not only that of the government, but we the citizens possess a discriminatory mentality against these beings. How many times have you dismissed a beggar knocking on your car window when you could have helped? How many times have you seen a child sleeping on the street, but you were too busy to help because you were engaged in a WhatsApp conversation? And how many times have you said, "Oh, they're refugees. They better go beg in their country and not in mine"? Do you think they're satisfied with their situation? I grew up thinking the world is a beautiful place, filled with love and happiness and never unjust. But today, I wake up realizing that it is not. Millions of children grow up broken and beaten. There are humans who cannot start new lives due to emotional pain. They cannot sleep at night due to their nightmare. And at the end of the day, there are humans just like me and you. We may not be able to stop wars, but we must ensure that childhood no longer remains collateral damage. You see, what these children need is true psychological aid and access to education. We must provide shelters, we must provide nurturing centers, and we must engage them in confidence-building initiatives to restore their trust in adults. I urge everyone who has a social media account to speak up and raise awareness. Volunteer, venture, explore, and help the youth neglected by the adults in charge. And to those adults in charge, I say, amend the law to protect us all from child trafficking, because anyone here could be a victim. You see, many drops of water make a bucket, and many buckets make a lake. But at the end of the day, many lakes make an ocean of giving. Thank you.
Thank you, Joelle. Your time was 4 minutes and 36 seconds.
Any questions?
Hi, Joelle.
Hello.
I was confused throughout your speech because sometimes you were talking about examples of beggars, and then you were
War.
and then refugees.
Yes.
And when you gave the example, you were asking us how many times have we dismissed someone over the knocking at our windows and so forth. One example, you mentioned a beggar and then a refugee, and as if you were equating them together.
Well, you see that the thing is that most of refugees, because they cannot find jobs or homes and because they have no social stability, they are forced to become beggars. The 1,500 children I was referring to are not all Lebanese. There are Syrians, there are Palestinians, and there are Lebanese. It's a combination of different ethnicities. But at the end of the day, refugees, some of them are becoming beggars, and there are beggars of Lebanese origins. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Joelle. Now the turn is for Karen Kanaan.
Are we alone? Why is the sky blue? Why do fish swim underwater? Why do wars happen? Honorable jury members and dear audience, we all remember asking these questions as kids. Questions a wise man could not answer. We remember falling and picking ourselves up, breaking our toys and trying to fix them. We remember wanting to play around, wanting to imagine and wanting to discover. No one told us how to use our imagination or how to be creative. Then came school. It is then when we started being told how to think in each subject. It is then when we started being told that there is only one right answer to each question. It is then when we started being brainwashed to believe that excellent people, those that make great individuals when they grow up, are those who listen to the rules and abide by authority without objection. Yes, we do need discipline. We do need to abide by the law. But allow me to say that this is not what made Rosa Parks change history. This is not what made Galileo change our perspectives. We are also told that being good is by making it through high school and college to eventually earn a fixed job. But we are not told that the cycle of being good has existed for a long time now. We are not told that those who did dare challenge the cycle, like the Wright brothers, Albert Einstein, and Walt Disney, have changed the course of history. Instead, we are to sit in class and endlessly learn about math and chemistry. How can they teach us economics the way they do when no one knows what the economy will look like 5 minutes from now? Even in the so-called free writing assessment, we have the outline and rubric given. We all have different skills, abilities, interests, and perspectives, but schools classify us according to age instead. Despite all our differences, we are all assessed in the same way. We are all assessed based on educational abilities instead of true capabilities. If we could sit for over 5 tests a week without flunking any, if we could memorize chunks of information just to forget them right after the exam, and if we could process information theoretically rather than practically, then we are considered successful. I am not saying we do not need the education we are receiving. What I am saying is that the way it is given and its content are those that need drastic modification. How many times did we remember or know how to solve a question just 5 minutes after the exam? How many times did we need just a few extra minutes to finish our exam paper? Well, if this has happened to us, according to the educational system, we are unfortunately not up to the level. Sir Ken Robinson, a British expert in the field of education, says in his TED Talk that the factors mentioned earlier, among several others, are ways in which schools kill creativity every day. Creativity is not a test to take. It is not a skill to learn. Creativity is about breaking the norm. It is viewing things in a way others do not. It is answering questions in a way others do not comprehend. We, the youth, have innovative ideas, but we cannot express them fully because we are not given the proper spaces to do so. Sadly, today's educational system is taking beauty out of learning. When a high school student sits for over 20 tests a month, enough is said. Education has become more about testing and teaching instead of learning. We have unfortunately reached to a point where we study for the love of grades and not the love of knowledge. Today, after 16 years, because I care about today's educational system, because I care about creativity, and because I dream of an innovative world, I'm not going to ask, why are manners important? Or why do people do hurtful things? I'm going to ask, why allow the educational system kill creativity? Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Your time was 4 minutes and 39 seconds.
Thank you.
Judges, any questions?
Any questions?
It seems there are no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give hands now for Khaled Rajeh.
Honorable judges, fellow finalists, ladies and gentlemen, the state of the youth in any community essentially prefigures the quality of its future. Undoubtedly, the most defining stage in one's life is most often childhood, during which his delicately emerging mindset and personality are almost definitively molded and shaped by family, friends, and ultimately, school. Now I stand before you today because I am a staunch advocate of Walt Disney's claim that our greatest natural resource is the minds of our children. And I have enough reason to claim that not only is this country's greatest natural resource being largely ignored, but substantially damaged by none other than our public school systems. So what exactly is the problem with our Lebanese curriculum? I firmly believe that we have been approaching education from precisely the wrong angle. Instead of teaching students how to exploit the full potential of their minds, we've been cramming them with so much inapplicable information that it has gotten to the point where the students that were once so eager to learn, asking endless questions and jumping at every chance to speak, are the same ones who, 10 years later, are sitting idly at the back of the class, staring at their watches, barely even making eye contact with the teacher. Now, what happened to these children? They were forcefully disengaged from the learning process. Our curriculum has managed to extinguish the only thing we should be harnessing, which is a child's undying wonder and burning desire to find out more about the world. Now that cramming system of ours, which by the way hasn't been altered in any way for 16 years and counting, focuses all a student's attention on accumulating as many points as possible, but ignores the ever so important question of how to use that knowledge to deal with life's everyday affairs and achieve personal goals. So what should be done? The reforms I would like to see implemented are too numerous to fit into the speech. So I will only mention a few points which center around building a student's character and interpersonal skills. Firstly, we must begin by giving students the chance of being leaders in their schoolwork, rather than conforming to orthodox rules designed only to impart abstract knowledge. High schoolers must be given the freedom to prioritize the subjects of their choice, rather than being forced to expend huge amounts of time and effort on subjects that not only would be of no practical use whatsoever in their future professions, but would also most likely degrade and discourage the student. They must be taught the importance of sticking to a definite purpose in life and how to discover the right one. They must be taught how to properly organize and consume time, the most valuable and readily available asset they have. They must be taught how to effectively connect with, influence, and motivate people through debates, negotiations, speeches, and even everyday conversations. They must be taught how to maintain sound health and how cigarettes, liquor, and narcotics, in addition to causing countless diseases, also destroy one's power of will. They must be taught the works of some of the greatest thinkers and teachers of our time, the likes of Napoleon Hill, Wayne Dyer, and Dale Carnegie. They must be taught the value of sociability and unity in society, and should have regular sessions in which they partake in community service projects with a wide variety of students from across the country. Now that would instill in our youth a sense of belonging, a positive self-concept, inter-ethnic tolerance, and a non-sectarian frame of mind. Exactly the sort of qualities we so desperately need in today's society. Ladies and gentlemen, I care for our youth. I care for our future. I care for a better Lebanon, in which our schools produce self-motivated, hard-working, independent thinking, highly effective members of society, who leave their second homes with the same enthusiasm and thirst for knowledge that they entered with. But only until that vision of mine catches on to each and every one of you today. Only until that vision is publicized through the media and speeches like this. Only until that vision pushes the majority of us to start publicly demanding our academic reform, will the state of our youth prefigure a future of better quality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Khalid. Your time was 4 minutes and 24 seconds.
Thank you. Feel free to ask. Yes, please.
How much have you been able to convince your school to introduce some of the changes that you would like in the curriculum? I mean, how effective are you?
The problem is one person cannot change the school system. What should be done is that the demand, which is spread throughout the media and magazines and websites, the demand should push private schools to employ similar systems. And that eventually would push public schools to do the same.
Well, I hope you can get somewhere, because you're one voice and get the class with you, and you can build a chain.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Khalid.
much.
Let's welcome Kinda Ghazal.
I care. I care about peace. I care about humanity. I care about war endings. But what I mostly care about is those children who suffer and die every day due to war. I care about the generation of war. According to UNICEF, 230 million children live in war-torn countries